Hello everyone! In the 4 sessions of Module 2, we explain the important points to remember when pitching from the perspective of communication. Specifically, we learned about 2 patterns of 30 seconds and 3 minutes. The content to include how to present your pitch deck, how to speak, and what to be careful of in meetings with investors. We explain how to speak concisely when you have a set time, such as a demo day for investors, and when you come across a potential investor by chance, how to present the slides you will use in your pitch, and how to speak using those slides, and especially what kind of pitch will make the most of the opportunity if you are able to make an appointment to meet with a venture capitalist. Are you ready to respond concisely to these questions no matter when or who asks you? In this session, as a summary of Module 2, we will take a look at pitch videos of actual startups and explain them. Please use them as a reference. Now, I'm sure you have each created a business outline based on what you learned in Module 1. And I'm sure that it is a great idea. What is important is whether you can effectively communicate that great content to the other person. No matter how great your content is, it is meaningless if it doesn't get through to the other person. You need to put yourself in the other person's shoes, create your pitch slides, and communicate with them. It only has meaning if the other person understands it. The startups we will be looking at specifically in this session are DoorDash and Umami Meat. Let's take a look at them one by one. DoorDash is an on-demand food delivery service. When users order food through the app, a contracted driver delivers the food. The app lets users know how busy the restaurant is and the estimated arrival time. The founders are Stanford graduates, and in 2013, they successfully raised seed funding of USD $1.2 million, or more than 100 million Japanese yen, with their original pitch deck. The company has continued to grow since then, and its market capitalization is USD $74 billion as of 2024. The San Francisco Bay Area, where the company was founded, originally had very few convenience stores and supermarkets within walking distance, and people had to drive to restaurants, so home delivery was preferred. With the rapid spread of smartphones, users were able to order on demand regardless of time or place, and drivers were offered delivery jobs when needed and matched, which led to a rapid expansion in the use of this service. Now, let's take a look at their pitch at Demo Day, the accelerator they were selected to participate in. The pitch started with a very simple slide with the company name and the tagline, making delivery possible for all restaurants. DoorDash conveyed the facts that there are no particular problems with the food delivery business. But for example, the area around Stanford University, where the company was founded, has no restaurants other than pizza places, making it inconvenient for customers to easily get other meals, and that it was also difficult for restaurants to provide delivery services even if they wanted to, due to the need to secure their own drivers. DoorDash conveyed that it is a company that optimizes logistics between 2 parties.
We're DoorDash, and we enable every restaurant to deliver. For customers, we offer restaurant food delivery in under 45 minutes. And for restaurant owners, we provide our own drivers, and we manage the logistics of delivery. Now, you might think that food delivery is a solved problem. But if you live in Menlo Park or Palo Alto, you know that's not true. Outside of pizza joints, just about no restaurant in this area delivers.
Next, he lists the current players and the problems that they face. While there are companies that generate leads for restaurants and companies that do delivery, there is no company that integrates the two and operates the service. And he says that this is what makes DoorDash unique.
Therefore, services like Seamless or Grubhub, which merely aggregate menus but don't actually deliver, don't work. In fact, that means the market is underserved because over 70% of the United States live in areas where restaurants don't deliver. Now, there are courier services who are sending people to place takeout orders on your behalf, but because they don't partner with the merchants, they are slower and structurally more expensive. We're the only company in this space that manages both our own logistics and partners with the merchants. We figured out the model to make consumer deliveries work. Because we control the entire experience of delivery, we offer the best performance at the same cost. When an order is made in our system, it gets placed immediately at an iPad installed at the restaurant.
To help customers quickly understand what your service is like, they use visually appealing photos and show how a notification is sent to the restaurant's iPad as soon as a customer makes a comment.
We've also built logistics software to make it dead simple for any driver to onboard into our network.
They also use photos to explain that information is transmitted to delivery drivers via their smartphones. The slides don't include any text, but instead use only photos to explain how information is seamlessly shared between customers, restaurants, and drivers. This is effective because it allows the audience to intuitively understand.
Our logistics model is winning. In over 3,500 deliveries, we've averaged 44-minute delivery times between when you place your order and when you receive your food.
And with a simple bar graph, they show how DoorDash's delivery times are over 20 minutes faster than their competitors. Instead of a cluttered list of words, they use large numbers on the bar graph to make the message clear.
Better than our peers. But unlike our peers who operate in the cities, we did this in the suburb of Palo Alto, an area that's much more spread out and more difficult.
He also uses a line graph with concrete figures to show how the service has been launched quickly and is growing at a rapid pace. For Damody's listeners, the investors, whether the startup is likely to grow rapidly is very important. This is not just armchair theory, but the fact that he conveys figures showing his ability to launch quickly and how he is growing the business at a rapid pace is a major plus point.
Because of our great service, we've grown our weekly orders by over 30% week over week. And we've already generated over $1.5 million in annualized sales for our restaurants.
And in addition to the rapid growth, it simply communicates the traction that they have already achieved. Again, by writing the numbers that they have achieved in large fonts on the slide and providing specific explanations verbally, you can get the message across directly to the other person.
We figured out how to make consumer deliveries work. Our growth proves that. But what's more, our driver network and logistics software enables us to even go beyond food.
He also conveys their uniqueness in a simple and straightforward way. The integration of logistics between users and restaurants on the seller side are problems that have not been solved until now. And because of these problems, there is a lot of untapped room in the food delivery market. What we have been talking about so far is concisely expressed in just words.
If you were building the FedEx of today to manage local deliveries, deliveries wouldn't happen overnight or even same day. They would happen on demand. And that's what we're building at DoorDash. If you're interested in hearing more, please come find us afterwards. Thank you.
Finally, they conclude their pitch with the slogan, become the FedEx of local people, showing the direction that they are aiming for. The audience was looking to invest in a startup aiming for large scale, so concluding their pitch with a sense of skill about what they are trying to achieve in the future made them want to hear more. In fact, after this, DoorDash successfully raised seed investment from VCs. What was distinctive about DoorDash's pitch was that the slides were visually appealing, with photos and graphs, large fonts, and concise wording. And in terms of speaking style and demeanor, they spoke with confidence throughout the entire pitch, got straight to the point on every slide without unnecessary introductions, stood and acted natural, always faced the audience, and made eye contact when appropriate. It was a simple and concise pitch from start to finish, both audio and visually, and full of firm confidence that what they are working on will change the food delivery industry. I encourage you to incorporate these ideas into your own pitches. Next, let's take a look at the pitch from food tech startup Umami Meats. Umami Meats is a biotech startup from Singapore, founded in 2020. It is building an automated production platform for cellular seafood products. It aims to combine novel stem cell biology, machine learning, and automation to produce state-of-the-art, cost-effective cellular seafood products, enabling seafood industry stakeholders to have a stable supply of healthy, alternative seafood products free of mercury, antibiotics, and microplastics, for example. The company has raised $2.4 million, or about 250 million Japanese yen, in seed funding as of 2022, and will enter Japan in 2023 to commercialize cultured marine products that are in short supply due to declining fish catch and quality caused by overfishing and ocean pollution, especially Japanese eel and big-eye tuna, which are popular in Japan. We are working to commercialize seafood. Now, please take a look at their online pitch at the regional competition co-sponsored by SG Innovate, a Singaporean government agency, and the Extreme Tech Challenge, in which they were selected to participate.
So, hello everyone, my name is Mihir Prashad. I'm CEO and founder of Umami Meats, and today I'd like to tell you about our cultivated, not caught approach to sustainable seafood.
As with any pitch, the first thing you need to do is to briefly describe the business you are doing. In the case of Umami Meats, it is a startup developing cultured fish, so it needs to be straightforward. The pitch is immediately understandable because it begins with the company logo, with a fish design and the tagline, cultivated, not caught, which is visually appealing and speaks of aquaculture rather than capture.
So we envision a future where we can consume healthy, sustainable, and importantly affordable seafood that doesn't involve having to sacrifice animals, our oceans, or our future.
Next, they explain why aquaculture is being used, along with a line graph. At present, the mainstream of aquaculture is so-called caught seafood, but the supply of such seafood is in short supply. However, vegetarian and plant-based foods will not replace them, and the demand for aquaculture is expected to increase. This is especially true in emerging economies.
And many people ask, why would you work on a cultivated product? We see a lot of plant-based products coming along, fermentation-based products, and I like to show them this chart. And basically what you're looking at is whether people are eating traditional caught and farmed fish, vegetarian options, or cultivated. And what we really can see is over the last 50 years or so, the number of vegetarians percentage-wise is growing, but not substantially. And in spite of all of the discussion around plant-based and veganism, this is still a very small portion of consumers. And especially in emerging markets where the growing seafood demand is going to be the largest, this is the trend. So we believe cultivated is needed to produce something sustainable that matches what consumers want to buy.
they also provide a visual and easy to understand explanation of technology, which tends to be specialized and difficult to understand in the case of deep tech startups. The process from the original technology to commercialization to the table is explained in a way that not only experts can understand.
And a quick note on what cultivated is. It's basically using cell culture technology to produce fish or other kinds of meat. And we use a simple process. We start by harvesting cells from the fish, establishing cell lines using non-GMO methods, and using cell lines that can turn into muscle and fat tissue. We then culture the cells in bioreactors to take a few million cells and turn them into many trillion cells. We harvest them from the bioreactor, and then we structure them to produce various kinds of seafood.
Then, the characteristics of their approach and why they can transform the economics of the cultured fish business in that way are conveyed visually and clearly with a good use of line graphs. The three characteristics of the approach are spices-centric, full-stack, and ML-powered, and the high price of the lab stage is shown to be low-priced and scalable as it progresses from pilot plant, commercial plant, and partner extension.
And our approach is unique in the way that it transforms the economics of cultivating these cells. So our goal is to bring the price down to price parity with premium seafood at the pilot scale, and to actually undercut the price of many of these species that I'll talk about in just a moment as we reach commercial scale and beyond. Our approach starts by developing proprietary data sets around the species we work with, everything from the genomics and how the cells, the animals breed, to how they respond to different environments. We're then developing a full stack from novel inputs all the way through process development. So we own the stack, and that allows us to apply machine learning to continuously and iteratively accelerate our improvement cycle. And the economics of cell culture boil down to two simple points. You need to increase the efficiency of your cells, and you need to decrease the cost of the media you feed them. With the cells, you can increase their doubling time efficiency by decreasing how long it takes one cell to turn into two, to turn into four, etc. And you can increase the density in terms of how many cells you can grow in 1 liter or 2 liters of media. On the media side, you can decrease the cost of the media per liter, but you can also decrease the amount of media that needs to be consumed to produce a certain amount of cell mass. We're working on all four of these problems simultaneously. On the cell line side, we've established innovations that increase the efficiency of the cells.
The company clearly states that the price can be lowered and scaled as it progresses from the high price of the lab stage to the pilot plant, commercial plant, and partner extension. The next slide shows how the uniqueness of their cell line can improve production efficiency with large visual icons for each of the 4 points. The next slide shows how they can reduce costs through media innovation. The next slide then shows the same 3 points on how cost reduction can be achieved through media innovation. And the next slide shows a picture of the species that they are focusing on, in addition to the visual icons, to make it even easier to understand.
We have very short doubling times that are approaching 23 hours now, and these cells can produce muscle and fat in a matter of a few days, which is very short relative to the traditional time spans. We're also starting to scale up to grow these cells at very high densities, which will also pair nicely with our media innovations that are helping to drive costs down. We have a 100% plant-based serum that we use to replace the bovine serum animal-derived media. It costs 2% of what the bovine serum media costs, and we're already starting to increase media efficiency by reducing the volumes required as well. The species we're focusing on are based on a couple of criteria. They're hard to domesticate. They're considered endangered or threatened, so they're on the IUCN Red List. There's strong demand, particularly in Asia, and they have premium price point. So this initially led us to Japanese eel, yellowfin tuna, and red snapper as species of choice. And in terms of how we're going to showcase these species, we're starting in just over a month with a demonstration of a traditional Singaporean laksa that will be a fish ball and fish cake based dish. Moving towards more structured products like grilled and smoked unagi as our first commercial launch. And then over the next couple of years, we'll introduce fillet chunks, sushi and sashimi dishes, as well as steaks and fillets. Our business model is to start by launching with fine dining and high-end hospitality groups to have chefs be our educators for consumers and our evangelists. The goal is to build prestige and validate demand. And the goal of validating demand is to then engage large-scale B2B players like seafood distributors and suppliers and specialty ingredients companies with whom we can license our technology stack and sell our specialty inputs at high margins and work with them to basically entrench our network as a cultivated seafood technology player.
Furthermore, they made it clear to listeners in this pitch what they were looking for. Umami Meats was looking for a partner, not an investment in this competition. There are 3 areas: sourcing, product development, and production. Unlike software startups, deep tech startups often pitch for these purposes because of the complexity of the stakeholders in the commercialization process.
We're looking to partner on sourcing cell culture inputs and ingredients, product development and customization for different markets, and for scaling production. And we have a deep technology background in our team, along with a number of partnerships that are helping us to make this possible. Our lead cell line scientist has 20 years of experience on fish cell lines, and we have several decades of experience in automation, bioprocess engineering, etc.
Finally, the core members of the team are introduced, and it is clear that the team is capable of realizing what has been discussed in this pitch. While deep tech tends to push scientists to the forefront, Umami Meats has a team that can commercialize its unique technology and push it forward as a business.
Thanks for your time and learning more about how we're cultivating, not catching the future of seafood. Look forward to taking your questions.
As for the slides, Umami Meats' pitch was visually appealing, with effective use of visual aids such as photos and graphs, icons, and pictures, without going too deeply into the technology. And the speaking style was clear and straightforward, with no preamble to the important points. Since the pitch was given online, it may have been difficult to show gestures and other behaviors. But I think that the speaker spoke concisely and skillfully in his own words, rather than sticking to a script. I think remote online pitches like this are becoming more and more common these days. Please take a look at it as a reference. Above, we have explained specific pitch decks for 2 companies. Although there are certain contents that should be included depending on the round, each company should have its own style of presentation. And we hope that you can find a style that suits you. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time. Goodbye!